Hello again and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is video number 4 out of a series of 5 dedicated to bullying prevention awareness. Today I'm going to be discussing how to help a child or teenager who is being bullied and also how to deal with a bully. You can also find an accompanying blog article to go with this video, which goes into a little bit more detail on my website www.tracymaxfield.com. So, I'm Tracy Maxfield. I am a nurse, author, peer specialist, and a very staunch mental health and stop bullying advocate and educator. And my mission is to engage, educate, empower children and teenagers living with a mental illness, dealing with suicidal thoughts, and are also dealing with bullying. So one of the most harmful effects of a child or teenager being bullied is that they feel helpless. The victimization and exactly what is being said or done, because remember, bullying can be cyberbullying. It can also be emotional, it can be verbal, it can be social, it can be physical, it can be sexual. It may be one, it may be all. And so already the child or teenager is feeling quite helpless. If they reach out for help to a trusted adult, parental, guardians, parents or school, and no one believes them or takes action, then this is going to lead to feelings of anger, frustration, sadness, anxiety, and even shame. Unfortunately, what we are finding is that 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 children and teenagers are being bullied on a daily basis. This means that approximately in the USA, 160,000 students skip school daily due to fear of being bullied. And every 7 seconds, a child or teenager is bullied. These stats are real, it is a fact. And if we do not step in and help our children and teenagers and deal with this issue, then their emotional issues will become worse and they will either develop a mental illness or it will exacerbate the signs and symptoms of a pre-existing mental illness, even if they were being treated for it. Can lead to the development of a substance use disorder, a secondary mental disorder, for example, depression. They could also then develop PTSD, stress, as in anxiety, social anxiety disorder, or generalized anxiety disorder, and possible self-harm. And tied into all of this is when the emotional pain and hurt is so intense that they don't know what else to do, then death by suicide. And that is also increasing to such a degree that we now have a term for it, and it's called bullycide. So before I go into how we can actually help a child or teenager who is a victim of a bully, let's just review some statistics. And the reason why I'd like to include these is because there's so many people that still discount bullying as something that's life-threatening and serious. And I hope that just giving you these numbers will stress to you, not only is it happening, and it's happening right under your nose, but it is increasing and it is dangerous and we must stop it. So the anticipated cost of bullying related to any kind of physical violence or assault or sexual assault, just in the USA alone, is an average cost of $7.9 billion. Billion dollars. That's after the effect. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we were able to utilize that money as preventative measures before it even got to that? 85% of girls in school are sexually harassed. 2/3 of students in the USA state that their schools respond poorly to bullying. 15% of all school absenteeism, is due to bullying. 25% of teachers say that bullying, there's nothing wrong with it, it's a rite of passage, that there's overreaction. Consequently, they only intervene in probably 4% of bullying incidents. 50% of boys and 30% of girls who bully, and 36% of boys and 15% of girls who are the victims carry weapons. Hello. And this is children as young as 7 or 8 are actually carrying weapons to school to protect themselves against a bully. 43% of students fear bullying in the school bathrooms most of all. 280,000 students are physically attacked in schools across America every month. Facts. So now let's move on. A child or teenager who is being bullied, just imagine how they feel day in, day out, having to go to school, having to go there and know that chances are they are going to encounter their bully, or let's say bullies, because as I've mentioned in earlier videos, there is the wolf pack mentality and they travel in gangs. The stress that they go through to avoid being left alone, to put themselves in a situation where they could be vulnerable, to avoid the bully. Can you imagine what it is like living with that stress every minute of the time that they're in school? Add on to that the usual stresses of being a child or a teenager. Who knows what's going on in the community? Who knows what's going on in school? And then they've got the added pressure of school and schoolwork. And everyone seems surprised that these children, these teenagers, become extremely anxious, become depressed, become suicidal. My response is, how could they not be? Having to deal with that. As an adult, I was bullied relentlessly, and I felt like that, and I'm an adult. So how do we expect our children and teenagers, who, remember, have no life skills, they have no learned experience, they have not got social skills that you and I have. These are children and teenagers whose brains are still growing and developing. So how can you help a child or teenager who's been bullied? First step, stop and listen to them, please. Listen to what they're saying, hear what they're saying. Be kind, show compassion and understanding, and most importantly, be respectful and show love. Believe them. Do not criticize, do not shame, do not blame, do not judge. You need to ask them about the incident, who's involved, what happened. You need to report it to the school. Do not go and try and deal with the parents yourselves. If it happened on school grounds, you need to go to the school to deal with it, and you need to ask them what is their policy regarding bullying. Then you need to discuss your child's health. Is he or she already showing signs and symptoms of a possible mental disorder, such as anxiety or depression, or even self-harm? In that case, you really need to take them to see a doctor. And I think it's also good to set up an appointment either with a private counsellor or a school counsellor and do some individual counselling, but also some family counselling. This is a family problem, and together you're going to help your child or teenager overcome it. You need to discuss strategies of what will make the day better in school, what will help make them feel stronger and more empowered. And you want to help them develop resilience and coping skills. I'll discuss this a little bit more in how to deal with a bully, because it's going to be relevant information. But you really need to try and help empower your kids. They have done nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with them. It is not their problem that this has happened. However, you need to help them deal with it and help them feel safe and strong and confident. And so you need to really work on their self-worth and their confidence as well. You need to be really watching them for signs of potential self-harm and suicidal behavior. That is vitally important. talk to friends, talk to family. You need to really get a grip on what's going on, and you must obviously follow up with the school. Obviously, if you're not getting any resolution, then you take it one step further and you go to the school board. If it's an infringement of basic human rights because it involves racism or homophobia, then it's a civil rights issue and you can actually take that one step further. If cyberbullying is involved, I've discussed this in more detail, but you also need to work with your child or teenager about promoting safety on social media as well. Another great strategy is to engage them in what they can do around the house and tasks and activities they can do, which gives them a sense of accomplishment and helps with self-affirmation. And martial arts have proven to be extremely helpful for anyone who's been bullied because it teaches respect and control, but also it enhances their confidence, their self-worth, and it takes place there's a sense of camaraderie and community where you are not one, you are a group of people together collectively. I think also it's a good idea that you get your child's or teenager's friends to understand what is happening and to be there as a supporter or an upstander. And I have discussed upstanders when I reviewed the bullying circle in the previous YouTube video. Other things is share tips with them, how they can become assertive and stick up for themselves. And this will be in a couple of minutes, tips on how to deal with the bully. And then I think other things are make sure that they understand how important and valuable and valued they are as a child in that family. Show love, vitally important. If they feel that no one understands, no one likes them, no one loves them, this is going to only make the mental condition worse and will lead much more quickly to potential substance abuse, violence or criminal activity, or suicide. For additional information, please refer to YouTube video 7 and blog 7, where I discussed bullying and mental illness in children and teenagers in a much longer article. And so, tips on how to deal with the bully. And this is going to be tough to begin with, but you should start practicing it with your child or teenager because it really will help them. So they maintain eye contact. Shoulders back, stand tall, maintain eye contact, and remain very calm. Do not react. Remember, respond, not react. Get them to speak in a very clear, deliberate voice, and they only need to say a few words. They don't need to go on a tirade. They do not need to hurl insults, because that's only going to antagonize the bully, because this is what a bully wants. Define the bullying behavior. Name it for what it is and state it needs to stop. And so you are saying nasty words about me. I do not like it and it must stop. And walk away. Do not wait for a response. You see, a bully looks for a reactive response. They want you to cry. They want you to run away. They want you to get angry. They want you to throw things, to punch at them, to trip over things as you're leaving, so then they can ridicule you. That's what they want. But if you do a very calm, deliberate response with eye contact, remember, bullies don't like eye contact, and very calmly tell them, then it would work most of the time. And again, that's when you really need to bring in upstanders. I can't stress that enough. Obviously, you want to encourage your child to avoid places where the bully frequents. And if they are going somewhere where they know that bully is, then they either have a teacher or the counselor or an older student or a group of friends go with them. Bullies will find it very difficult when there's older students or there's a group with the victim. Other things, get your child or teenager to write down days, times, where it happens, who the bully is, who the assistants and the bystanders are, because the school needs this information to deal with it, and together you need to strategize a plan which helps the bully. Remember, all behavior is an expression of an unmet need, so the bully needs help too, and the bully's victim, which is your child or teenager. Another thing is encourage your child or teenager to go to some websites. There's some really great stop bullying websites, such as stopbullying.com, and also the Be Strong Foundation, and then of course Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation. They give great tips and information on how to stand your ground, how to respond, how to report. Other things that your child or teenager can do is consider forming a group, stand up against bullies, Blue Up Monday, Pink Shirt Day, things that recognize bullying is unacceptable, and together you stand to say no. And then the other thing is practice fogging. Fogging is one of the most successful ways of dealing with a bully/bullies. And what fogging is that you minimize the impact of what the bully says, and basically you take the wind out of their sails, and they don't like that. And so if they say something to you, then you kind of look and say, whatever, and carry on going your way. Don't run away, you maintain the same pace, and you look at them and you go, whatever, and walk away. Inside you could be screaming, you could be really anxious, you could be stressed. The bully doesn't know that. Other suggestions is, oh, so you think? Okay. And you walk away. Or, so I've heard. Fogging will nip it in the bud, because you're not giving them a response what they want. You are being very calm, you are taking control. It's taking back your power and standing in your power, and we hear this all the time. And so it's, even if you're quaking and you need to practice this with an older sibling, practice this with an uncle or an aunt, father, neighbor, grandfather, high school coach, it doesn't matter. Maintain eye contact, stand tall, shoulders back. Put your hands in your pocket if you like, so you can scrunch them really, really tight because you're feeling really anxious and you think, I'm just gonna vomit and I can't do this. And just look at them and you just do the fogging. Whatever. Now, the bully actually looks like the fool. And then you walk away. If you remain, then they may get a little more hostile and aggressive. And so these are some tips and techniques, but I think the most important thing is it must be reported, the school must be held accountable, and it must be dealt with. The law is that every single school should have a stop bullying policy and action that they take, and that action must be consistent all the way through. No favoritism just because daddy is a lawyer and gives money to the school fund. And then obviously I think if physical abuse is involved, then you have to report it to the police. Anything that involves physical, sexual, direct threats of harm, it must be reported to the police. That is imperative. And so I think I want to end on a final note. Be there for your child or teenager. If you notice there's a change in behavior, a change in clothing, they're not interacting with family, they seem bruised, clothing is missing or ripped, they're just not themselves, they disappear to their room, you must take time out and go and talk with them and see what you can do to help them, because that is the silent call for help. And so I hope you found this information helpful. It'll be in more detail on my website, and please consider pressing the button below to sign on for my weekly YouTube video without me having to harass you all the time. And next week is video 5, which will conclude the October Bullying Prevention Awareness Month series of videos. And I will be talking about bullying in the LGBTQ community and bullying in special populations, that is physically disabled, blind, deaf, autism, children who have special healthcare needs and are more likely to become the victim of a bully. Thank you.